Hello and welcome to today's show. It's about Englishman and West Ham fan Joe Morris and his writing of No Joe blogs. The show today comes to you thanks to the Structure Success Video Training, which is a free training that helps you come up with a rough outline for your own life story. That could be an autobiography, it could be a memoir, a biography, or some other life story project. Stay with me to the end to get the link to get this free training. If you're brand new to Forever Young Autobiographies, it's the place where we learn to write life stories for family and friends. And I'd be very grateful if you could follow, subscribe and like the show. Now, if you're wondering whether you can write a life story, if you are looking for some inspiration, then we've got Joe Morris. He's written No Joe blogs, and he fell into this project accidentally. He was receiving care for autism, and even with this diagnosis, it couldn't hold him back from writing this book. The book includes childhood memories of him growing up in Ilford, Essex, and also quirky London life. There's some moving accounts of the Holocaust, but then there's a lighter side to the book, specifically the 1966 World Cup win by England. Now, I caught up with Morris and he told me a bit more about him, his book, and he had some tips for fellow life story writers such as ourselves. So I'll start the show by telling you a little bit about Morris, and then I'll go into those different sections. So Morris had great support from his lovely wife Bev and their two adult children. He couldn't hold this story back, and it started even though he had been diagnosed with autism and now has Asperger Syndrome and is retired from health grounds. He loves to write, and he really has done a great job with this book. It's funny, it's nostalgic, but it's also uplifting. And he had really strong whys, which I think is why this writing flowed so well for him. First of all, he said he wanted to tell his life story and show people the journey that he has been through in his life. So through reminiscing and memories, but also importantly to highlight the story of his parents and his grandparents as Holocaust survivors. So how did Morris start this book? Well, he went to a centre to join a mental health group, and it was here that he went to the centre's computer lab room and started to write just a short story about his family's claim to fame, which was that his grandfather, who was a hairdresser or a barber, cut the hair of the West Ham players who were on the winning side of England for the 1966 World Cup. So this is a great short story, but it then flowed onto a book. Morris said he didn't really have a plan or an outline for this book, but he just wrote and wrote. He loved getting into this writing flow. He did, however, section the book up into chapters that had clear beginning, middle and end. And his son helped with the formatting process. So that was really helpful, that there was a little bit of assistance there. He did have some hard points with this project. Firstly, that he was doing it on a public computer in a computer lab, and he was very worried that all his work might get accidentally deleted. So he had to take that and put it on his home computer, of course, so it was safe. But then tackling the emotional story about the Holocaust was really hard. But the rewards were great, leading in now to the final section of this show, which was the rewards and tips for fellow writers. So the rewards, Morris says, are firstly holding that book on publication day in your hand. He said that was incredibly thrilling, and then being able to share the finished story with his nearest and dearest. A wonderful feeling. And he loves his book. He couldn't pick a favourite part of the book. He says just loves writing descriptively. So really good rewards. It's important to focus on the rewards when we're starting out on this writing journey. Morris had some tips for us. Number one, he says, it doesn't matter if you're not a celebrity, ordinary people, in air quotes, ordinary people are completely entitled to write life stories. In fact, he says they can be a work of art. So just go for it. That's his words. No more mucking about. Just go for it. He has a technique to think of a word or to think of a memory and then write about that. Just start. He says, relax, go for it with all these lovely memories from childhood and then move on to adolescence. So some really wise words there. And that's a quick snapshot about an Essex local discovering life story writing flow after his autism diagnosis. So to recap, I've talked a little bit about Morris, his book and his writing journey, and then some tips for us to take away for our own writing. So my hope through this show is that you will discover the writing joy just like Morris. Now this show is actually just a summary of a whole article I have about Morris and his book. Please head over to my website to see that. Go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/nojoblogs. You'll see some photos there of Morris and his book and some links to his Facebook page and places on where to purchase your copy of the book. And while you're there or while you're listening to me now on this platform, please leave me a comment. Morris said he had a claim to fame with the World Cup players from England, but what's your family's claim to fame? Please share in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Also, if you have any questions about life story writing, it could be planning, writing, editing or publishing, please send me an email. Go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/contact and I'd be happy to hear from you. At the top of the show, I mentioned the Structure Success video training. And this is a free training where I sit down with you. I ask some simple questions about key events and memories from your life. And by doing these exercises, we then come up with a rough outline for your own book. To get your hands on this free training, go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/structure success sign up. Please have a look. I think it's really worthwhile and it will get your writing on a really great start. I will be back again soon with another topic just like this, so please, I'd be very grateful if you could follow, subscribe, like the show, share it with a friend too. That's really, really helpful. So until then, everyone, thanks very much and happy writing.